all this last minute stuff. We are live.
Are we live yet?
We are live.
I don't believe you. Let me see. Is that little bug up there? Okay, we live.
Yes, we're live. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. You know what, sweetheart? So today we're going to talk about making money by traveling, while traveling, etc.
You're in my ear.
I know. So one of the things that we did not appreciate when we made the plan to travel around America, shooting documentaries and all that stuff. I don't think, well, first of all, YouTube really wasn't a thing back then.
No.
Right. And the internet wasn't what it is today. So I think a lot of things have changed.
Yeah. I mean, you used to have to look at National Geographic to look at different lands, and then you had to hire. Don't listen to her.
He's aging himself.
Yeah, I am aging myself. I didn't say Encyclopedia Britannica.
Well, the other thing is that I don't think people our age really appreciate the power of the internet, and that one, you can make money by traveling, and you can make money while traveling.
Wait a minute, you can make money while traveling?
Yes, yeah. It's called being a digital nomad. Right? Yes.
Okay. I'll believe you if you say so.
So we are going to talk about that today and much, much more. But first, let me introduce myself, right? Are we going to introduce ourselves now?
You do it and I'll
introduce me. Hey, y'all. My name is Felicia.
And I'm Rick. Welcome to our Black Utopia.
On our channel, we talk about money, travel, and retiring abroad as we build generational wealth.
Yeah.
So who is our special guest today?
Felicia Shelton is our special guest today.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And she is the one who is going to hip us to the skip on how you make money by and while traveling. But first, if you are new to our channel, then you may not know about 7 years ago. See, I'm skipping now. 7 years ago. That's how long we've been on YouTube.
7 years?
No, we started, we said 6 years ago. So it's been a year. So 7 years ago. Wow. We got a wake up call as we got close to our retirement age, looked at our money. It looked crazy. We barely had anything saved. And plus we had a meeting with a financial advisor that didn't go so well. It depressed him. So about 4 years ago now, we got our financial act together and got out of debt. And we went from negative 22,000 to over 800,000 today, 1 million in net worth. And if we can do it, y'all can do it too, right? Yep. Y'all can do it. So we are going to bring up our special guest. But first, we have a meetup coming up. If you guys were at our April meetup, say something in the chat. Say something in the comments if you're watching from the future. Hey. Yeah. So if anything that we've said so far has sounded interesting, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know every single time we go live, every single time that we drop a new video. And if you like what we're talking about today, hit that thumbs up. So if you came to the meetup in April, let us know what you thought. Put it in the chat or put it in the comments if you're watching from the future. Our next meetup is June 20th.
And see, Action VJ agrees with me.
What did he say?
About Net Geo.
What did he say?
That was the thing you had to get that.
What was Net Geo?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, National Geographic.
Yeah, National Geographic.
I don't know all of these acronyms. Anyway, so our meetup is the boat excursion is June 19th. June 19th, because we're going to be in the States in July. June 19th. And then the party is on June 20th. All of that information is below in the description. We are doing a Move to Portugal Summit the first weekend in November with Blacksit Global. And we've also got some special partners that will be partnering with us for advertising. But Krishan looks like she is in the chat. We are partnering, and I'm telling you, it's going to be off the chain. Off the chain. Y'all know Krishan doesn't do anything halfway. So there you go. Lastly, Beyond the Bling Money Mindset Makeover for Financial Independence. We are nearing the end of being able to offer it at one price. We're going to a subscription model. We have monthly I guess we call them group coaching sessions.
Yes.
And so with that and with the release of our real estate investment masterclass, we are going to a subscription model. So if you want to be grandfathered in to be able to get those weekly or monthly group coaching, you might want to enroll today if you need to get your money straight. That information is below. And with that, we are going to go to our guest. Hey, Felicia.
Hey, Felicia.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm great. How are you guys?
We're good. Why don't you introduce yourself, because you can do a much better job than we can.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Felicia Shelton, and I am currently experiencing culture shock being back in the US. But before then, I had moved to China and all these wonderful things. Who am I? I am a world traveler. I am a polyglot. I am a lover of, just traveling the world, experiencing new cultures, new people. I just love to travel, and I've been living outside of this country since the age of 20. And so this is not new, but what is new is how we can share information together. And, earlier, Halisi and Rick, and don't get down on Rick. I remember Nat Geo looking at National Geographic and looking at, strange men and women, that I thought at the time. And like you said, we're in the same age group. So, wear it proudly.
Yes.
So,
thank you.
There you go. But yeah, that's who I am. I am a world traveler. I'm a photographer. I'm a writer. But what I love to do mostly is share information with people who would love to do the same. And today we are going to talk about how I lived and traveled and worked all over the world and all that good stuff.
Yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to ask you about the culture shock before we get into everything else. But first, let's see who is in the audience. Yassine. Yassine. New name. Tell us about yourself. Where are you logging in from? Hey, Action VJ. Y'all ready? No, we weren't ready. That's why we were 30 seconds late. No, we weren't ready. You guys, we did log in 30 minutes early. And and if you are ever on our show, we ask you to come in early because there's not always technical issues, but there might be.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, log in late, there's going to be some technical issues. So as always, thank you, Action VJ, saying hit that like button as you come in. We appreciate it. Good afternoon from the West Coast. Hey, Alexandria. Hey, Pinky. Good to see you.
There's Greta.
Our new Greta. Good afternoon from Baltimore. Is it cold back there, or has it finally gotten warm? Hey, T and Mel. Good to see you. The Howard World View. Meriton. Good to see you. And Anita is in the house. Yes, yes, yes. Who else? We've got Chandra. We've got Vanessa Ruiz. We've got V. Anita. Checking out these international streets. That's what I like to hear.
Yes.
That's what I like to hear. Hey, Maria. Good to see you in the chat. AK Renee. Our other Greta. Who is, if you guys are not part of our Facebook Fire Over 50 on Facebook, it's our private group. You do have to be a part of the diaspora. You do not have to be over 50, but you do have to be either wanting to be on the road to financial independence, working on being on the road, because that's one of the questions. We don't want posts of your food and all stuff and things like that. But I'm going to tell you, Greta holds it down. She's always posting such good information.
Great information.
Right?
Great information,
yes. Hey, BP from Windy Spring, Michigan. Ooh. Hey, Phyllis. Good to see you in the chat. Yeah, that does not sound fun. Hey, Raquel, Nubia Net, and Krishan is in the house. Isha on purpose. Is it Isha or Isha? So she's going to be at the next meetup. Thank you from Phoenix, Arizona. I know it's getting hot there. Hey, ZF. Good to see you on the live. Now, is this your first live, being able to catch your first live? Or, because I know she's watched the replays. Hey, Professor. Hey, it's good to see you. My peace, high vibe, Kim. Hello, Marlene. Let's see what we're saying about the meetup. Oh, see, talking about encyclopedias and stuff. So Blackson says the meetup was awesome, right? Who else was there? Let's see. I know I saw some other comments about it. So Nubianet
So did
says,
Rashida give me a shout out?
I don't know if Rashida gave you a shout
Somebody
out.
said she gave me a shout out.
Did
Didn't
she?
even
Where
say
is that?
anything. It was further back.
Where is it?
I don't know,
So
baby.
if y'all don't know, Sheeta's on the loose. Rashida Dow is in Portugal right now. So she went live earlier today
Mm.
from Porto, and we had dinner with her, and we celebrated her birthday with her,
It was great. It was such
right?
fun. Yeah.
And then she dropped the bomb on her live and said, "Oops, she might have to learn Portuguese."
All right.
Because we know Portugal is wonderful.
Mhm. It
Wonderful.
is.
Now, Rashida, Adelia wasn't trying to hear that. She was not trying to hear it. So Meriton says, I was at the April event in 2020 and I went through a traumatic experience with my fiance. So, so sorry. Oh my gosh. I was reclusive since the meetup. Thank you, OBU, for being so kind and welcoming. You are so
You're so
welcome.
welcome.
You know, I think we are here on earth also to help other people heal, right? Um, Greetings from Pennsylvania. We got Long Beach in the house, Atlanta. Woo, Lord. Yes, yes,
There's
yes.
a lot of y'all
Jeanette,
in here. Yeah.
yes. So we are going to get to questions. Vanessa already has one.
Oh,
We'll just start with the culture shock. But first, because you can say this very quickly, how many languages do you speak and which ones?
I speak, okay, my mother tongue is English because I was born here in the South in America. And my first language, here we go. Second language is Swedish. Third is French. Yeah.
Okay.
I graduated with a degree in French, did my study abroad for a year, my junior year. And 2 weeks out of college, I was on a plane to my first job out of college. And that was to be an English assistant in a school in Paris. So
Okay. All
not
right.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. So I took 7 years of French.
here we go. I already know what you're going to say. I already know. Everybody, as soon as I say I speak French fluently, everyone tells me they spoke, 3 years or they studied 3 or 7 and they barely.
Je m'appelle Halisi.
Okay. Okay. That's one sentence. All right.
That's it. That's all I got.
Come on. You know more than that. You
Je
know more.
suis fatigué. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I got. I'm tired and my name's Halisi.
All right. All right.
Hey,
No.
all I got is we.
Mm,
Ah, oui, oui.
exactly.
Okay. So tell us about the culture shock in being back in the United States.
Well, after the smoke settled, because I had signed a 2-year contract it was a contract that I could not refuse. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to head back out to Asia. I love Asia. My first stint was in Seoul, South Korea. I was there for 4 years working, and it was just amazing. And then I came back here and got stuck here due to the pandemic. I was on a break. We'll talk about how I get to travel to all of these places, but I was on a month-long winter break because this is what you can do when you do what I do. And that's when the pandemic broke out. And so I always joke that I've been stuck here ever since. But, just being back here, I mean, there's some great things. I'm in the state of Virginia. This is where I was born and raised. And it's a beautiful state. I have done some really great things while I'm here, but the shock of it is that I'm no longer able to just walk outside my door and hit a cafe or go to an open market, like even in Beijing, which is where I was before coming back to the States. I really didn't have to go to a grocery store. I could just walk outside my door and there were all kinds of merchants there. I buy my fresh fruit and vegetables. So that's been a shock, the ease of, now you have to have a car. Here we go with the car again. Now you got to have the car and the car maintenance, and that costs money. And another shock is just how it's so hard to even see another person. Whereas when you're in France or China or South Korea, you walk out and people, you just might come across anyone and say, hey, all right, what you doing? What you doing? Okay, it's great. You want to get a drink, you want something to eat, and then you just go and do your thing. And you have a wonderful time and you go about your business. Here, everything has to be planned. Oh, Felicia, let me check my calendar. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have time for that. So I don't have time. I'm just like, you got to get me. If you see me out, I'm a person. If you see me out, you better grab me then. That's the time to grab me, because once I go back into my house, I'm in the house because I love being in my house. I do. But, it's just the shock of just how people interact with each other. Even the commercials, there's all these, pharmaceutical things. Whereas in other countries like France, Paris is my second home. Those things are illegal. You never see commercials for medicine or drugs or whatever kind of drugs. Here, you're inundated, which tells me, it's not too healthy to be here, basically. And we'll talk. And that's it. Yeah. And I've looked at a lot of your lives, and it's true. I mean, the food, oh my God, the food is a shock. I was born, hey, everybody, I'm not downing America whatsoever. There's some wonderful things about being home, and some of the, spices, I know, Felicia, you just like, I can't get this. And I'm just like, hey, I can go to Whole Foods around the corner. I can get all the spices that I want. But the food does not taste the same. If you don't know someone, or if you're not someone who grows their own food, it tastes different. It really, really does taste so different. A tomato, when I first moved to Paris and I went to my got into the habit of going to my neighborhood markets. And I love tomatoes, because now by living in France, this is what a tomato is supposed to taste like. And this is the size of a tomato, not these big, huge, it's just water. And so that is a shock. Thank God my husband is a really great cook and he makes it work. But even, I would say, the vegetables, and there's some amazing vegetables in China. Oh my God. It's not the same. Things taste differently. People interact differently. The ease of, public transportation is horrible here. And it's all geared to make you spend your money. Because if you don't want to be waiting at a bus stop, you have to buy a car. So those are just some of the things. Like when I first got back here, I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is what I got to eat. I got to go where? Yeah.
It's interesting listening to being out on the street and just seeing people. We run into our landlord who lives next door to us. We run into him more on the street
than we do
in the hallway.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was talking to, we were having a birthday celebration with Rashida, and she had two other young ladies who were here. One was new, who moved here, and one was visiting. And they were talking about don't take the trolleys because of pickpocketers, Lisbonians, or don't take, I know that's wrong, but don't take the trolleys. And it's like, yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, the majority of the people on the trolleys are Portuguese, but they can tell tourists. And I was talking about how my backpack is like, theft proof, or theft resistant, so to speak. And my purse has little locks on it and this and that and the other. And that's usually when I'm just walking down in the tourist area where there's big crowds. And she said, did you do all of this stuff in Denver? And she said, were you so worried about being pickpocketed in Denver? And I said, no. And then it occurred to me, I also wasn't on public transportation in Denver. And when I did take the train, it was only business people going downtown because that's the only place the train went, right? It wasn't a comprehensive public transportation system like there is here. That's right. Yes, I love just going out and seeing and feeling the energy of people doing life.
Yeah, people take time. People take time.
Yeah, right?
Doing life, taking time. It was so beautiful. I lived in Paris like a total of 8 years, Sweden 4, South Korea 4, China it would have been 2, but it turned out to only be 6 months in person, and then the rest of the time. But what I experienced in South Korea, when it's hot, South Korea, I don't know if any of your viewers have been to South Korea or spent any time, but it was my first, time in Asia. So I picked South Korea, and it's hot as I don't know what, but when you go outside, you see grandma, you see great grandpa with their grandchildren. Everyone is outside, no matter what age you are. And we're all it's just so intergenerational. Everyone is, so respectful. I never feared for my safety. Oh my God. And thank you. That's the biggest shock. That's the most important to me. That's the most important shock of being back here, is that even China was new to me. This was a contract. I wasn't even thinking about going to China, but China said, okay, I know you're thinking about South Korea, but here's what we have over here, and this is how much money you can make, and then we're going to give you a 1-bedroom apartment. Isn't it cute? And I said, oh, this is nice. But as soon as I got there, I would say that the next morning, I never thought about locking my door. It's safe. The safety, now that we're here, my husband and I, we just, we bought a house. The first thing I said, we got to get an alarm system because we're downtown. We have 2 universities in walking distance to our house, which is great because we have professors and the students. It's very vibrant around here. But sometimes you hear gunshots. So I said, well, if we're going to live down here, and sometimes you might have to be in your office in another town, which is an hour from here, and sometimes you might have to stay overnight. Guess what? I need the police to know that this house is secure and Felicia is in the house. And I would never think about doing that in France, in Sweden, nowhere else but here. I'm constantly looking around because you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. And I think, truth be told, you have to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Everywhere. But here, times 10.
Right.
If I'm the only woman walking down the street and there suddenly a man comes, I don't care. It's not even about the color. I'm just like, okay, if this is this person, does he look okay? Because there's a lot of mental issues, people who should be in facilities, but they don't have the money because they don't make enough money. And that's another story for another time, how we don't protect the mentally ill in this country. So they are turned out into the streets, at no fault of their own, but you have to be super, super aware at all times. And it's very tiring. It's very tiring. As soon as I went to Portugal, I went to Porto last year for the first time in my life, I just relaxed. I went where I wanted, when I wanted, at any time of the night, and I did not have to worry about my safety as a solo. I was in Porto solo as a solo traveler. Once you step outside the US, to me, you can relax. As soon as you come back in, you got to get that armor on.
Yes. So one of the videos that we did, eight best cities for Blacks to retire.
I saw that.
International best cities, right? South Korea was on there. We got a lot of things about safety.
Yes.
I mean, no. First, there's the one crowd that's like, those places aren't safe, and why would I want to leave the USA and blah, blah, blah. Didn't you read it was international? Why'd you even watch it if you weren't interested in moving international? Or did you who knows?
People don't
just got a comment.
Exactly. And the thing about it is the database that we use the barometer or the benchmark is New York City. So the cost is in comparison to New York City, which is not the most expensive city anymore, right?
It's not.
Probably San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
because San Francisco is out of control. If you're watching from the Bay Area, I'm sorry.
You
I'm
can't apologize for it.
No,
It is what it is.
move. That's what I'm
It is.
saying. Get up out of there. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's so expensive. It's so expensive. And then the other thing, the safety, everything else is in comparison to New York City. And so every single one of the cities that were on our list was 50% on average, 50% safer than New York City.
Oh yeah.
No one thinks anything about going to New York City and walking down Times Square by themselves. You might worry about pickpockets, but we know tons of tourists do it every day, right? And don't even worry about it. And that's the thing that people don't really understand is that there's tons of. I wanted to mention this because you said you came to Porto solo. Ton of single women moving here by themselves from all ages, from 30 something to 60 something and up. Yeah. So it's never too late. If you've got your wits about you, if you've got your health, if you've got your money straight, you can get out.
You can do whatever you want. I don't have children. I have, adult stepchildren. They're in their 20s and, they're great. But I have a niece and I told her, I said, look, as soon as you graduate, we're going to Paris. Let's go. We could go on the weekend. I don't know if you've done this. Try to go to Paris for a weekend. It will change your life. I had a tote bag and I'm like, yeah, let's go. We can go. And she was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. And I said, okay, well, tell me when you're ready. And you have your blood relative who speaks fluent French, who knows the culture. And we're going to have a lot of fun. But in addition to fun, I want to teach her about the culture, how to create community where you are. And you guys talk about that on your channel. And, making money abroad, you can do it. But to me, I think, I'm going to talk about some other things in addition to, how, because people always ask me, how do you go to all these places and, what do you do? And I just use a skill that I think most people have.
Yeah.
And I just buy my ticket and go.
There you go. You go.
Yeah.
So I want to mention two more things before we get to look-see travel and how a person can think about making money while traveling, making money by traveling. We got a lot of comments. So this is always based upon the comments that we hear from folks about the colorism in China and South Korea.
Oh my God.
So I'm not going to say racism.
Yeah.
Though I think some of it is racism. And I think some of it is the vestiges of colonized minds because Europe colonized basically the planet last century. And Korea is no exception. Vietnam is no exception. I want to say the French colonized Korea for a minute.
French were in Vietnam.
Or was it Vietnam?
It's Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I knew it was one of the places that we supposedly had some kind of war. And I was surprised that they spoke French there. Really surprised, right? So tell us about the colorism. Did you experience it? Did you experience some people trying to touch your beautiful hair or any of that stuff?
No. The only thing with colorism that I did notice, not so much towards me, was that when it was time for me to, I wanted a moisturizer. Now, I don't know if you're into K-beauty, that stands for Korean beauty. K-beauty is the best and it's not expensive. They have some of the best moisturizers and things like this. But before it really, really took off, I would go into the big, beautiful department stores that are in Seoul. And I noticed that these moisturizers said whitening,
oh my gosh.
everything. And I was like, okay, I said, hey, do you have just like regular moisturizers because I'm not trying to like lighten my skin. I just want to moisturize my skin.
Right.
And it was very, very hard to find until I started going into like the K-beauty shops, like brands like Innisfree. Innisfree, I believe, is available in Sephora. But K-beauty is a big, big thing now. And they know for this American market, they might disguise it as brightening, which a lot of things do, but you have to look at the ingredient. I look at the ingredients of everything that I put on my body and of course in my body. But I noticed that I said whitening, because I believe in Asian culture, this has been my experience, is that the lighter your skin and as close to white it is, you get treated better. You might get that promotion a little bit faster. You might become the face of the company or organization that you work for, etc. So that's their thing. So, just like in, I think, Southeast Asia, in India, there's the caste system.
Right.
And it goes from, darkest to lightest. So, they experience their colorism. I didn't experience that. I felt that when I first stepped off, my first day on the job, I'm walking to work and there's a sea of Korean people because Seoul is such a huge city. And I'm very, very tall. I'm 6 feet tall. And was I wearing my hair in my afro? Yeah, I did. I had a smaller afro because I cut off all my hair. But then as I spent more time there, people wanted to take pictures with me. It wasn't so much about the color of my skin. It was that I didn't look like them. So of course, they're just like, people like looking at me, the children are looking at me. But it was the same thing that I experienced in Sweden back in the 90s when they hardly had any immigration, and certainly people who look like me.
Right.
So I was like, from the 90s on, I was used to that. But, when you have a crowd of people as you're walking down the street, sort of, and all these noises and everything, and then you're around a university and all of a sudden you're pulled into a photo shoot, because if you say yes to one, then everybody's just like, oh, she's nice. Okay, let's go ahead. And I'm like, okay, whatever, the peace sign. But as far as touching my hair, no. I think they were just like, wow, she's a foreigner. Of course, I got, when they won, I was on the plane and somebody said, what year was this? Oh, I was walking down the street and this woman's just like, Obama. Even when I was in China, Michelle. I was like, no, because if I were Michelle Obama, I probably wouldn't be
walking.
I wouldn't be Number one, I wouldn't be walking. I would have a detail of, security around me. But I laughed at it. I smiled at it. I thought it was, it's a huge compliment. It didn't bother me, but I do understand that it can be bothersome for other people. As long as you don't try to touch me without my permission, we're good. Just don't touch, if you ask to touch my hair, I'm going to politely say no. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't get angry or anything because, I'm in their country and I understand that I might look like, I don't know to them. But as long as people are nice, and that's what I've experienced, no one has ever said, foreigner, get out of here, or anything else that would be negative due to my, color of my skin or where I come from, American, get out of here. No one, thank God, knock on one, pop, pop, pop. No one has ever said that to me, and I appreciate that. But you might, for the people who are listening, you might have someone say, hey, or they might maybe reach out and try to touch your hair. Just, say, no. And that's it. Because, I'm not a thing. And I would never go out and touch your hair. I don't care what your hair feels like or, so it's just hair.
It is just hair. But of course, if you're 6 feet, they probably can't reach your hair.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
So, well, and your smile is just as beautiful as our former first lady. So maybe that
Oh
was
my
the
God.
thing.
Thank you. She was amazing. Oh my God. She is amazing.
She is amazing.
God.
She is amazing. So how did you end up in Sweden?
Oh yeah, I saw that question. How did I end up in Sweden? Well,
Speaking Swedish, or why did you learn Swedish?
yeah, I was visiting a young man who had invited me to come and spend the summer with him and his family. And I got there and fell in love. And then I moved to Sweden. Didn't have any idea. I was just like, I'm just here, just, it was my first plane ride. I was 20, 20, barely 21. 20, first plane ride. And my first plane ride was a trip to Sweden. And that's when everything changed. That's when everything changed. Everything was kind of revealed because
Right.
there's one thing when you're reading about, because my mother and father were voracious readers, and they made us, you copy what your parents show you.
Right.
So, please, watch what you do around your kids and watch what you say around your children. But my mom always said, we had Life magazine, and this is the large format. And yes, I am aging myself. Large format, Life magazine, large format, Ebony magazine.
I remember.
And you remember. And National Geographic we had in the house. And then we also bought the Encyclopedia Britannica and Britannica and everything. It was just I don't know. It was one thing to look at all of these foreign places and have your parents say, well, this is what they do over there. Da, da, da. And it's another thing to actually be away from all that you hold dear and know. And now you're living and breathing in another country.
Right.
That's a different thing. It's one thing to read about it, or even nowadays, to look at you two. Here you are, you're Americans living and thriving in Portugal. So for the people who are in the chat and who are, looking at us live, it's another thing to transport your body, your belongings,
Yes.
your bank accounts, and to actually live that day to day. So when that happened, and I found out that people in other countries, they have regular houses like we have, and they have schools, but they speak a different language. They eat different food. But another thing that I noticed, even at that very young age, is that they have regular jobs, but yet they have more. I noticed this at 21. I said,
wow,
my future father-in-law is not leaving the house at 5:30 in the morning and returning at 5:30 p.m. at night, tired, working, and da da da. He's an engineer. He has a wife at home. She didn't work. She worked in the home. She raised the two children. He made enough to pay for his house, to have a wife raising their beautiful children at home. They went on vacations, plural.
Right. For real vacations, not for a week.
And not for a week. So I said, wait a minute, these are like regular people. This is like the people I come from.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, do they have a different lifestyle than what I've known since I was a little girl. Because my dad worked very, very hard, and so did my mother.
Right. I was at home alone at 10 o'clock at night because my mom was at work.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't shift work. She had been there all day.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Like, when we see the parents with their toddlers and things in the park across the street, and it's still daytime, and they're chilling with their kid, and it is like clockwork, you know.
Yep.
5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they're out. That means they're not tired, right?
Yep.
And you, oh, just don't here. Watch TV because I need to
Yeah.
sit down somewhere. They're not
Yeah.
worn out. It's not just like, I mean, obviously, if you're on your feet all day working in a grocery store stocking things, you're going to be more physically tired than the
That's
person
right.
than the bank teller. Let's just say, right?
Mm.
But they're not emotionally tired with that, right?
Yeah.
That whole, it's just draining.
Yeah.
It is draining. So my then father-in-law never came home drained. He was just like, okay, yeah, I'm home. Yeah. And then he would put on his indoor slippers and just, chill out. Okay, and then we would have dinner and then we would watch television downstairs and then we would plan what we're gonna do. For the weekend, the weekend coming up, what are we going to do? The barbecue. And I said, wow, my mom and dad, they want to do all those things, but it was a certain, it's a special kind of, certain time of year that they actually had the time to do it. And it was always like in a family reunion type of
Right.
situation.
Right.
And that was the only time that all the cousins and the uncles and the aunts, everybody could get together.
Right.
But for the rest of that, it was just like, okay, can't talk on the phone, got to go to work. And so as I got to live and experience that culture, eat different foods, and have a different rhythm of life, that's when I said, okay, yeah, this is for me.
Yeah.
This is for me.
That's the key thing is the rhythm. The rhythm is totally different.
It's totally different.
Yeah. It doesn't, I mean, we're pretty far north, so it doesn't get light in the wintertime until about 7:30. And I swear to you, it doesn't feel like the school starts later here. That's one thing.
Oh.
So school in the US, some schools started at like 7:45 and 7:50 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good for kids.
No, it's not. Not for grown children.
No.
No.
School here looks like it starts at 8:30 a.m. and 9.
Ooh.
9.
That's
Can you
nice.
imagine? 9. And it feels like the people are going to work at about the same time.
Yeah.
So if you're leaving the house at 8:30, I used to have to be there at 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you're getting off in time to be able to play with your kids in the park before dinner.
Yeah, it's a different rhythm of life. I saw somebody had mentioned Denmark in the chat, and I almost moved to Denmark. This was in 2016. I was on vacation because when I'm in the U.S., I tend to traditionally teach French at the high school level because I love French. And sometimes they treat French teachers like a redheaded stepchild. No offense to redheaded people. I love red hair and all that good stuff. But that's what I tend to do. But when I was on vacation, the so-called summer vacation, the so-called vacation that American teachers get, it's not really a vacation whatsoever, which is why I don't teach anymore in the American system. But I went to Denmark and I said, the third day, I said, oh yeah, I'm moving here. Denmark is my jam. Porto is my jam. So there's a lot of places to live in the world. And what I'm doing now is I'm shopping around. And I've gotten some people excited about doing the very same thing because they're thinking, hey, I introduce them. I talk about you to different friends and just acquaintances.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
said, yeah, they're this amazing American couple. They decided to retire abroad. And I said, where are they going? I was like, Portugal. She's like, are there Black people there? I said, oh,
Lots.
We here.
yeah.
But I asked that same question to myself. What about Portugal? Are there Black people there?
Well, that's what you Googled.
Yeah, that's what I Googled.
Yeah, but and I tell people, and as soon as they say that, I said, honey, Black people are everywhere.
Yeah, we
We
are.
are everywhere.
We truly are.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere where you want to be.
Now, it might not be a lot of American Black people, but people from the diaspora we are everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
everywhere, especially today, because I'm a voracious reader. You can learn so much by reading fiction, especially
Mhm.
fiction written by people of another country. And then it's translated into English, right? And so I've learned a lot about Sweden and other countries up there just by reading.
Yeah.
Um, and what's interesting to me is when I read about the corruption and things, the things that we never hear about. We only hear about it from S-hole countries.
Whew. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to get into the politics of it
Yeah.
because otherwise that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different, that's a series.
Yeah.
I think that many people are afraid or just
Mm.
reluctant to venture outside of the US to relocate for fear of not making community. Is that something that you find to be true? So let's talk
Hmm.
about
Yes.
creating community where you are, because this is part of, what you do and what you've explored, etc.
Yeah. And my business partner and I, Dr. Presswood, we've created this Look, See, Travels, right? So what we want to do is we want to help people get over that fear, right? We want to help you, travel and live abroad with confidence. And let's talk about community. And we had a long conversation about this yesterday. And the thing I think that people are very, very excited about living abroad, just, for some people, maybe even right now, they didn't even know that they could live
Right.
outside,
Right.
right? Because there could be a ton of new people in the chat and they've never even thought of themselves in another country living and thriving like you're doing right now and like I've done. But the community thing comes when you make the effort to learn the language. Because when you first move abroad, and I'm just going to say it, when you first move abroad, of course, you're naturally going to hunt down for those people who, number one, look like you, but also people who know your culture. Like, where are the Americans? Like, where's the Black American community in this particular country, in this town where I live, etc. But another part of the flip side of that is don't get so immersed or just lost in that, finding that Black community in that country, because the flip side of globe trotting or being a digital nomad, it's whatever you want to call it, is that people don't tend to stay for that long. So if you have made the mistake of only relying on your American contacts in that city and you have not made contacts with the locals, you're going to find yourself by yourself, because sometimes you might have this really great community of Black Americans with you, and one by one, maybe after 3 years or 5 years, people start going to other countries. They're like, well, no, I thought this was great for me, but actually, I think I want to be over here. And people move. It's so transient. And so get to know the Black Americans, or, whatever group that you're into or that you belong to in your, newly adopted country. But do not forget the locals, because you're going to need them to navigate. You're going to need to speak that language. You're going to need the etiquette, when because this is what I'm going to do with the group. We're heading to Paris. I'm trying to get people to come to Paris, if that is something that you want to do, and just take a look and see what kind of vibe you get from this culture. But you have to make community with the locals around you. That will help you feel more grounded, I think, and it's going to make you feel more confident in this new place. And then you'll be the person when you might inspire other people, because number one, the language, where to shop, or where to get the plumber and all these other things that could have been, those resources could have been had from the Americans. But then if you say, hey, knock on your neighbor's door, hey, I'm Felicia, I know I'm new here, can you tell me blah 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 blah. I think most locals, they will be happy to help you, but make the effort in trying to speak their language and learn the culture. That's going to take you so far. And you won't have any more fear.
Yeah.
You won't. You will say, wait a minute, I'm just living my life in another country. There are different ways of doing it, and I can do it. We're going to help you get your sea legs, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's what you're doing every time you have a live or a post. That's what you're doing. You're trying to build people's confidence, because for me, I will just buy a ticket. Somebody said, Felicia, let's go. I'm the first one to buy a ticket and I'm out. But not everyone is like that.
Right.
Some people have other responsibilities. Some people have children that they, maybe school age children. Some people might be taking care of their parents. So they can't just get that ticket and go. But what we can do is show them that it's not as hard, or it's not as daunting as they might think in their head.
Indeed. And I think, one of the things, so we joined Black in Portugal and POCs of Portugal and Americans and Friends in Portugal before moving here. That helps you with a soft landing. That helps you avoid some of the immigrant tax. And when we say immigrant tax, we're not talking about there's an actual, law on the books but it's the tax of paying too much because you don't know. Mm-hmm. But once you start talking to the folks who are born and raised here, then that's when you can start, actually paying what they pay.
You
and
find
so
the real jewels.
Right, because
you find the real jewels.
One of the things, we were just going to the main chain stores, and we were talking to this lady who actually lives in Porto, but she's down here working on something with us. She's Portuguese, and a lot of Portuguese speak English, which means that makes it easier to build community, but it's not helping my Portuguese. But, because of that, there really isn't any excuse not to have local friends. Folks who are born and raised in Portugal. And you can have Black people who are born and raised in Portugal, here in Portugal. That's how many Black folks there are who have been here for generations and generations, just as we have been in America for generations and generations. But yeah, she was telling us, oh no, don't go there for towels and sheets. You've got to check out these little, stores. And then they don't have a dollar store here, but they have what we call Asian markets that are owned by Asians. And right, bazaars, economical,
and they got everything.
From little stickers that you might need to paper to towels to rugs. I mean, just everything packed in these little stores. But I tell you, and you get the good prices. So we have our own versions of dollar stores. But if you don't have community, if you don't build community, if you're only hanging around with the Americans that are used to shopping at Target,
right,
and they don't go into the little local stores, you will never find this out, and you'll always be paying too much.
Always. That's right. That's right. You will always pay too much. Let me see.
So,
go ahead.
So QTQ, we did an episode called Leave America ASAP. And that is more about taking your skill set and then applying for jobs in other countries, whether it be an American job or American company that ships you overseas, or a foreign-owned company. But is there anything else you want to add to this question?
Is there a market outside the U.S. for of course. There are project managers all over the world. A young woman that I follow, she is a Latina. She is Mexican-American from LA. She has been working in, I think she's either a project manager or a product manager at Expedia. And she helps people also live abroad and all of that great stuff, and study abroad, because I'm also, a couple of months ago, I was thinking about doing a master's abroad. I still might do it. And she is based in Germany. So yeah, you can definitely be a project manager no matter where in the world you are. And I think, I don't know if you've interviewed her on your channel. I think her name is Libria Jones.
I have not
Okay,
yet. I
yeah.
need to reach out to her.
Yeah, Libria Jones. I think she's a project manager. I don't know for what country, but I follow her as well. She gives amazing advice. I would say look for project management jobs or positions in the country that you're interested in, and see and contact those people directly to see if they're willing to take you on, because yes, you want to, you can say, okay, I want to be a project manager in Brazil, but they're going to look for project managers for their own people first.
Mhm.
And so you have to have something extra that the people of Brazil, for an example, that they don't have. That's
Right.
how you get hired.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do.
Backpack Vegan says she was surprised by the face whitening products in Bangkok. Now here is just the opposite. Trying to find sunblock without tint in it.
Oh,
Yeah, so they put it was like makeup, like foundation. They put a
yeah.
little tint in it so that you put it on and it's like automatic suntan. Automatic suntan if you're very fair, but for me it looks ashy.
Oh,
So hard to find sunblock with nothing, no coloring in it.
Right.
They don't have Super Goop. I love Super Goop. I have Super Goop on right now, but this one has a little bit of sheen into it. But you're gonna have to pay more. But yeah, I vacationed also in Bangkok, and it's worse. It's worse. Everything I just take all of my moisturizer with me, and I only buy. I'll go ahead and pay that tax to order the product and get it from the States, because I'm not putting that stuff on my face.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, and they're doing it in Africa as well.
Yeah.
They've
Right.
been doing it. Yeah.
Right. And we know lots of Black Americans who,
People do it.
we have been so, I don't know, wounded by the power structure and by
Mm.
the ubiquitous of media that tells us that people who look like us are not beautiful. And they never say it,
Yeah.
right? But it's implied.
Oh yeah.
But it's implied.
But I think our generation, I really do sometimes think that our generation was the last generation that had like a strong sense of community and pride. And because I don't know
Felicia,
that's for me.
Our generation still said stuff like, "You're too Black, get out of the sun."
I've heard the aunties, my older, say that, but I'm just like, what? I know like that that's their generation.
Well, I people my age, people younger than me, they're still saying that nonsense.
Wow.
They are still. I still hear it. I hear it on the playgrounds. I hear it, and it's heartbreaking.
Wow.
We talked about that in Detoxing from the U.S.
I saw that video.
Right? We talked about that, so we're not going to get too much into that. But they say colorism is everywhere. India, China, yeah. We've all been
everywhere. It's everywhere.
So High Vibe says, I'm triggered by the Instagram posts of Black women traveling, and they are documenting how people are wanting to take their picture.
I've never felt uncomfortable about it. Like if I'm sitting somewhere by myself eating and someone wants to come up with the camera, and that's when I'll say, hey, I'm eating. But if I'm walking around, as long as they're not rushing up to me and pointing their camera in my face, which has never, knock on wood, has ever happened to me.
Right.
But yeah, I can understand that would make people uncomfortable. I laugh. I'm just, I feel like a superstar. When I hit Seoul, I was a superstar. They were like,
did you have the walk?
Oh, yeah.
Like it was a runway. Here I am.
Yeah, play it up. It's a game. And you know what? I met some people who are still my friends to this day.
Very cool.
just being silly like that in the street. And there, I can text them right now, on, I think it's called Tao Talk. I think that's the WhatsApp of Korea, or Kakao Talk or something like that. You meet people sometimes in strange situations, but I can understand how that would make someone feel very, very uncomfortable.
Especially if you are an introverted introvert, right? Like space. The
Yeah.
professor says, I also remember men in Greece calling out to me and my girlfriend, sisters, as they tried to get us to buy their merch. That's everywhere. We
Yeah.
laughed. They laughed. It was cute. Yeah.
It's cute. It's cute. Oh my God. And please, Italy. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Italy was they were so nice to me. They were so nice. And they're, bella, bella. But it didn't make me feel icky or scared. Like, oh my God, all these men, shouting out to me. They were really nice about it. And I was just like, oh my God, oh, thank you so much, grazie. And then I just went about my business, and then they went about their business. It depends. I don't know. It depends on so many things, but, thank God I would say I've never had that experience. So.
Yeah. We've heard some horror stories from China. We definitely have.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that your experience was different. And that goes to show you, when we talk about some of these places where you can move, and you talk about one anecdote or two anecdotes or three anecdotes of folks having bad experiences, that's why we say go visit and see. And we say visit like a month, not like 1 week and you trying to check everything off the box and get your Instagram photos. See how it is for you, because your experience in that place, your aura, your vibe may elicit different things. I often say that we attract some of this stuff without even realizing it, right?
Yeah.
Subconsciously attract some of this stuff. So everyone's experience is different. And just because everyone has had bad experiences doesn't mean if that country, city is on your list, doesn't mean that your experience would be the same.
Yeah.
So tell us more about Look See Travels. How can we make money traveling?
How can you make money traveling? Okay, so how I have traveled the world, lived around the world, and all that good stuff is that I use a skill, and that skill is speaking and writing English very well. And I think most people speak English quite well if you're born and raised here in the States. So I did my study abroad. This is my junior year. And I said, ooh, wait a minute. I love France. This is wonderful. How can I get back here? And so I had wonderful professors. So when I came back for my senior year, a couple of professors really said, you're really gifted with languages. What are you going to do after you graduate? And I was like, oh, wow, what am I going to do? I just love being a student. Oh my God, I got to work when I get out of here. And I really did. And a couple of my professors, they were like, well, you like France. Why don't you teach English? I was like, I'm not a teacher. I said, of course you are. You know you're good with people. You have a language, you speak a language, you're a native speaker of a language that the world wants to learn how to speak for business, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, okay. And so they told me they really sat me down and said, here's the French consulate. There are jobs called English assistantships, and go grab one. And so I had my professors, sit with me, and we filled out the application together. They gave me great references. I went up to the French consulate in Washington, D.C., boom, stamped my visa. And they're like, okay, this is going to be your school. All right. And just went home, packed, and left. And that was the beginning. It was the beginning of me being a teacher, an international teacher around the world. Do I have a degree in education? No, I don't. But I do have a bachelor's degree in French. I am a native speaker of English, born and raised here in the US, and I have a lot of international experience. So that makes me very attractive to people who want their little boys and girls, or companies who want their businessmen and women, their employees, to improve their English so that they can make the company more money. So
Right.
that's the tool that I use, which is for me, a natural tool. And for you, you can do the same. I don't even have a TEFL degree. And I think that now, because I was looking at Japan, which is my business partner's expertise. He lived in Japan. He lived for a long time in China. He actually started the first Black-owned study abroad company while living in China. And so we partnered up and we said, hey, no one can replicate our experience. The languages, our experience abroad. Why don't we help people who are afraid to make that first move? Let's take them on a look-see, let's look and see if this is something for us. So right now it could be 10 days in Japan. We're going to talk about the culture, their language classes. For me, I think the first trip to make and to focus on is Paris. It's France. I've been to places in France that regular French people have never been to. Because French people tend to sort of stay in their region.
Right.
They might go to the south of France for vacation, but they don't go around and say, okay, well, I want to go to Lyon. I want to go. I did that while I was there, while I was a student, and then even afterwards. So the idea, the vision behind Look See Travel is to help you build your confidence in making a possible move abroad. For me, I know tons of people who love Paris, or they love the idea of Paris. And you can also, you're in Portugal, you're in Lisbon, but don't forget about Paris, everybody. I lived there as a so-called expat. I'm a little funny with that word. I was an immigrant. The first time I was an immigrant was when I lived in Sweden. And that's why I was like, oh, this is how it is to be an immigrant. Oh, you have to do this.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, I'm an
But
immigrant.
I think we get treated a lot differently than America treats immigrants. And I think you can be both at the same time, right? I say I'm an expat from the United States. I'm an immigrant to Portugal.
And perfect. That's perfect. And that's really perfectly said. And that's the mindset. Because when I was an immigrant in Sweden, this is my first time outside the US, I was in Swedish classes 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, because I wanted to hurry up. I didn't have a job. I couldn't work. I didn't have a job. So if I wanted to get that work permit and that residency permit, they said, you're going to have to do some work and you're going to have to assimilate to this country. So you're going to have to learn the language. So it was free. A lot of countries, for everyone that's listening.
Yeah.
A lot of it is free because they want you to succeed in their country. They want you to bring your special skills and talents to their country. And the big way to do that is to learn the language and learn the culture so that you can integrate and make, your life. It's so amazing. You make your life better in your new country, but you're also making it better for the community, the country that you have newly adopted. So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about with Look See Travels, but it's tours. Yes, you're going to go to the Eiffel Tower, you're going to see the Eiffel Tower and all these things, but there's going to be flex time. There're going to be free days where you will go out on your own and you will navigate the public transportation. You're going to have to order your own food in a new language. You're going to go shopping in a new language. And then we're going to regroup at the end, have dinner together in the evening, et cetera, if you want to, et cetera. But I think that could be a really great way for people to not be so overwhelmed of like, oh my God, I got to get this visa. And what's a digital nomad visa? And what's a da-da-da? Hey, let's just take a trip to all of these beautiful places that people have been talking about on YouTube and how they're moving there. Let's just take a very nice, beautiful, fun trip. But within the fun, we're going to learn about the culture. Do you see yourself actually living there. And maybe in
Yeah.
10 days, that might be, asking too much, but it will have helped you, I think, just physically and mentally get yourself in this space like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Especially if you navigate public transportation,
Oh my God.
right?
Once you do that,
Because one of the things that there were two things that we saw. When we came here for our scouting trip, we got a Viva card,
Right.
which is for those who want to visit Portugal. It's a temporary pass. It's paper, so you don't have to fill out a bunch of paperwork, but you can
You can top it up. You can keep filling it.
Oh,
refilling it.
and then you get discount rides. So, and then you get to swipe as opposed to going to the machine and buying a ticket, for that ride and all that. You can swipe and save time. So we were on the metro over in Almada,
Yes.
and that was the first time. So we're taking first of all, look at all these black folks. Oh,
That's right.
we
Okay.
blend. So that was one thing, because we weren't on a tour bus, because we had to take public transportation, we weren't on a hop on, hop off where you just,
Exactly.
it was like, and then we would just get off somewhere and start walking around, like anywhere. Where are we? I don't know. I don't know. But we're going to walk around and see what's what and see how people are living. So that was cool. But the second thing that, may seem a bit controversial, but we mean it with an understanding. If you're American, saw the grandfather.
And yeah.
So we saw the white grandfather with his black grandchild in a very nurturing relationship.
Aww.
Yes. And I was like, okay, that's different. Now, it might happen in the United States. I've never seen it. One, because everybody's in their car.
Number one.
Right.
But I haven't seen it in restaurants or the grocery store or at Chuck E. Cheese or any of those places. And I was like, and then, okay, so that was one. But now we see it all the time.
Yeah.
So the relationship between different folks who look different is a bit different here. Is there racism? Of course, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's not lethal.
Yeah.
And it looks different, and I see the interactions that are very, very different as we walk around. So I think, taking that public transportation and stuff like that and seeing how people live. And then the third thing that we realized is when older people get on public transportation, especially women, everyone pops up.
A respect factor. Yeah.
Wow.
Pops up to give that seat. Someone with crutches or something like that, people pop up. They don't just look like, well, I ain't getting up. She can go sit back there, She got to stand just like I'd have to stand,
That's right.
No, there is a certain respect.
Oh, yes.
A lot of
definitely.
respect.
That you see for moms with children, for older individuals, and for folks who have mobility issues.
Very, very thankful.
Yeah.
They're very, very gracious.
Very
when
gracious.
You do that.
Yeah. You get a lot of obrigadas or obrigado if you're a man.
That's right. I did learn that in Portugal. I mean, Portugal. Oh my God. I was in Porto. I know. I think Krishan of Blacksit Global. She's in here. I was just like, oh my God, it's Porto. Don't go to Lisbon. And she was like, girl, I don't. I think we were in the chat. She was like, nope, I'm done. No. Porto is not her thing. Porto is my thing. And to go back to what you said, your experience will be different from your friend's experience.
Right.
I can wax poetic about Paris, even Porto, Copenhagen. Oh my God. And somebody else in my circle can say, oh my God, I hated Stockholm. What did you like about it? Da, 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 da. Now you know. How I see something is different than how you're going to see something. But please believe, for everyone in this on this live, you can live abroad. You don't have to stay in one place. And let's say if my husband and I, we moved to Porto for 5 years. Who's to say that we don't have to stay there forever?
No.
We can move somewhere else.
Yes.
And that's
Exactly.
the whole thing. I mean, I think that's just
Yeah.
life in general. I wanted to become a homeowner in America. I'm having this wonderful experience now, but guess what? We out of here. We're out of here.
Rent that baby out to them traveling professors and call it a day. Deuces.
And that's what we're going to do. And
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do. Because the thing is, I just know too much. I've been doing this since I was 20 years old. Marquitas, my business partner, I think he did his study abroad. I think maybe he was a sophomore in college. And a lot of my other friends, they were like, no, I was 15 when I was, learned French in the French Alps. These are beautiful Black people. And I'm like, what? You never told me that. And I said, well, let's do something together. Let's talk about these experiences. So please don't feel that it's not for you or you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can do anything. If you just want to go, because I think some people are not built to maybe live abroad for a long period of time. But you know what you are built for? I think taking time off, doing a sabbatical.
Right.
Stephanie Perry came out with guns blazing about
Yes.
sabbatical. And I never even thought of that, even for myself. But
Right.
I just have an idea and I'm like, okay, I'm going to live in Denmark and then I go. But you don't necessarily have to live abroad. You can say, well, I'm for 3 months out of the year, because that's, if you have an American passport and depending on the country, you don't need to apply for a digital nomad visa and all these things. You can just say, well, you know what? I rent this out for almost 3 months every year. And that's where me and my children or my husband and I or whoever,
Yep.
this is what we do. And we can work a little bit and then we go back home. You can have both.
You can.
You can have
definitely
both.
can.
Definitely to give yourself a break.
And the Howard Worldview, who's in the chat right
I was
now,
going to say something about them too.
right? They did that.
Let's see what they're going.
But I want to get back to making money with English because there's we have other friends who are here. We got a lot of friends. We got lots of friends. But anyway, just by happenstance, because she knows English, she got a job here. And she's on a D7 visa so that, you can work once you are a resident, even though you came here as a pensioner or independent passive income. So there was an immigration firm, and of course they have a lot of English speaking clients, but they didn't have a native English speaker on staff.
And there you go.
Yeah.
And though she's not making the same amount of money that she made there, there's 100% less stress, or at least 70% less stress. And it costs less to live here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. That's a beautiful thing. That's why everybody's flooding the market over to Portugal. I mean, it's beautiful weather, beautiful people. It doesn't cost as much. And this is wonderful. So your friend got a job in Portugal.
Yep. Because she is a native English speaker. Now, it can cost as much as in the United States, if that's what you want. Like, we just met someone who's apparently paying $6,000 a month in rent.
Huh?
Exactly. Like,
okay. Well,
I don't know.
Give me that person's name, because another announcement I have for you is that I'm in the process of getting my international real estate license. Yes, because there's a very reputable, very boutique real estate agent of a brokerage here where I live. And he's like, oh, you don't have to, he has all these beautiful properties in Italy, right? And I said, well, I don't speak Italian. He says, but you speak French, right? And he says, oh, I have France, Portugal. I said, oh. And a passion of mine, another passion of mine, other than travel photography, is real estate. I love land. I love property. I am so fascinated with real estate. I'm the person who is like a Saturday night, I'm looking at all the international real estate. I'm looking at, okay, what does $350,000 get you in all of these different countries? Could I buy a studio for 150,000? What does that look like in Italy or wherever?
Mhm.
I'm that person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's what I'm working on as well, because I know people who are ready to buy in Italy, and so it's like, get that license and let's go and let's buy
Yeah.
some property.
Well, and the other thing is, what would be
Oh,
advantageous is that because you understand American expectations, you can, because some people, they get into these, they want to buy before they've lived there. They don't even know if they really want to live there more than a year, but they
Right.
think they can sell it just as quickly as they sell in the United States, and it's just not that type of party.
nope.
So, what was the biggest awakening when living abroad, and what you were taught in America? Oh, I guess based upon what you were taught in America, what was the biggest awakening that you were probably misinformed about?
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, if you're American, especially of a certain age, that America is the end all be all. This is the greatest country in the world. And you can, it's the greatest, greatest, greatest. Oh, where did they go? Where'd you guys go?
She
We're
took us
here, but
off.
I
Are
took
they
us off screen because there's a gnat that I want to kill. So go ahead.
Oh, okay,
America's
no
the
problem.
greatest country.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You're told from a very young age that this is the greatest country in the world, and millions of people are, killing themselves to get to this country, and to a certain extent, that still is true. That second part that I spoke about. But when you leave the United States, that was the biggest thing that I learned with going, and that, I told you my first foray into international waters was Sweden. And when I lived in Sweden, I said, these people are living very, very nicely. Nothing fancy schmancy. Swedes are not very flashy, not flashy with their wealth. They don't wear their wealth, but best believe they have a summer house, a summer cottage somewhere. They do like the French. The French people don't wear their wealth. They're not Louis, Gucci, and Prada and all the things down the street. No, no, no. But they do, and that's another thing I learned. It's all about houses and land. It's all about houses and land. But I did learn that, because you grow up with, this is the greatest country in the world, and then you leave and you say, oh my God, it's so nice here. People
Yeah.
are nice, and no one's getting killed every minute of the hour. No one's arguing and coming, fisticuffs, just because somebody stepped on their toe.
Right.
People are very kind, and not say that, they don't work hard, but they work to live. They don't live to work. That's the big
That's the
difference.
thing.
And when
Yeah.
you leave, that's the biggest thing. That was the first thing I looked around. I said, wait a minute, these people, they have jobs. Because another thing that I did when I moved to Paris, I said, don't these people have jobs? What?
All out here and all time of day. What they doing?
Don't these people have jobs? Like, don't they have the responsibilities? How are they out in the middle of the day talking to friends and eating and laughing and drinking? And then even my first job out of college, I told you I was an English assistant. I only worked 11 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah, 11 hours a week. So if anyone is interested in and working as an English assistant, you can do that. That could be your first step into becoming an English teacher. But I only worked at that time 11 hours a week. I had a stipend and all these wonderful things. But I looked around and I said, wait a minute, somebody tell me, why don't we live like this in America? Because these people have jobs, they have families, they have homes that they have to take care of, just like we do.
Right.
But they're out enjoying, spending time with their colleagues. So guess what? I quickly adopted the exact same lifestyle. And you can too. So when
Exactly.
when you start living abroad, you begin to look around you And you said, hey, I want to sit in a cafe. I want to meet some friends and have a drink with them. So I started doing the exact same thing. Even as an English assistant working in a high school, they served wine in the cafeteria.
Wow. Okay, talk about that's a culture shock.
Yeah, that was
That's a culture shock.
yes, it is. So I'm there, I'm an English assistant. I'm assisting all of the, teachers and history and things like this, da, da, da. And then it's lunchtime. So I'm there, oh my God, the food. Oh my God. This is not prison food, the stuff that we grew up with in the cafeteria. It's like prison. I can't eat anything. Once you leave this country, you will stop eating the stuff. You come back and the stuff that you used to like so much, you stop eating it because you're just like, this is not even food. So we're going online, and then my lead teacher was like, let me get some wine. I said, wine? And I looked around, I looked at the other teachers, and they all had, it wasn't like a big, a glass of wine, but it was like a little, beautiful little glass like this. And he says, yeah, we have maybe one or two of those, and then we go back to work. And so I started doing the same thing.
What I think one of our culture shocks were that not every single, but in so many of the parks,
All the parks, yeah.
in the majority
of parks.
they have kiosks.
They have the kiosks that serve you wine and beer
and snacks. Right. And so, one of the biggest parks near us, we call it Fountain Park. It's called something else, but it has this big, beautiful fountain.
Wow.
And, we're retired, but I cannot tell you how many times in the middle of the day, especially when it's warm and sunny, and the park is filled with people sitting out there eating their lunch in no hurry. I don't see, this kind of thing going on. Or they're sitting at the kiosk, right? Chilling with some beer, some wine, either reading a book or visiting with friends or people watching, or because the playground is right there.
Yeah, and their kids are right there playing.
Kids are right there.
Or watching their kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a whole different culture.
Yeah.
What are the secrets to becoming a polyglot?
There are no secrets. There are no secrets. I am someone who, I remember doing this a lot as a kid. I used to watch here we go again, the Carol Burnett show, and how she would, put on different characters. And so I learned, I have a good ear and I can mimic the sound of things. And I found that served me very well when it was time for me to learn, Spanish in high school. And then I went to French, and I only learned French at university. I took a couple of Spanish classes in high school. But I think the secrets are, for me, having a good ear, but you're going to have to work. I think I really do, like my professor said, I really do have a gift for languages. I learn them very quickly and very easily. However, I think my French writing, I need to work a lot more. Even French people will tell you it's very hard to write in French correctly. It's just a lot of hard work, spending time with the language, do something fun. I watch a lot of French movies because even though I'm no longer in France, I love French cinema. So I have to constantly say, okay, let's not lose that French. I was talking on the phone, because, I'm now getting a lot of, doing a lot of footwork in hotels. So I'm calling hotels now. Hey, is it possible to block out? We're expecting 20 to 25 people who want to go on a look-see tour with me and my business partner to Paris. And so, boom, let's get on the phone. I'm like, ooh, okay, I was rusty with the first one. And then the second, the third, because I have to get prices, because if I'm going to block out 20 or 25, I want a nice price for the people who are going to sign up for this tour. So that's when it's just like, all right, let's go. It's a lot of work. Do something fun. If you're into movies, watch French movies. If you're into music, listen to French music, try to sing along, look at the lyrics. Audible is huge. Now I listen to books in French in my car, or when I go on my little 6 mile walk, I put on my, my earbuds and I turn on that French book and I'm going.
Yep.
I think just
Yeah.
spending time, however, if you're a gardener, learn the vocabulary for gardening in the target language that you're trying to learn.
And I just to add to that, I used to get children's books at the library in Spanish.
Wow.
And I think, my Spanish tutor, next week we're going to have my Spanish tutor on, and she's going to be talking about learning a language as an adult.
There you go.
She only teaches adults. And so I think, definitely tune in for that. But one of the things that she said is that her Black students pick up more quickly, and especially the accent. So what that says to me is that we are already used to code switching.
But everybody code switches. I think everybody does it.
I don't think that white America code switches like we do, to the extreme that we do.
Oh, no,
right?
no. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so the ability to be able to mimic so that we fit in, and we're not, especially if you worked in corporate America, kids today are not doing as much as our generation, but they still do it somewhat. Exactly. Right. But they still do it somewhat. And I think it is our ability to be that chameleon until we get home and we can shed all that and say, girl, girl, these folks getting on my last nerve. Right.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I've created Look See Travels. I'm just tired. I'm tired of being, just being that, here we go, admin. Let's, now turn on the camera, and I'm done. I'm done. No, I don't think I'm done. I'm done.
Done.
So let's use the skills that you have. This was a couple of weeks ago that you and I spoke, and you really hit a nerve. I sort of like, when we logged off, I sat there for a little while, and then I walked around this room. Use this room for video and all that stuff. And I said, she just said that you too could retire early. And I had never thought about that. And then she also said, Halisi also said that you could also create a business and maybe be here in 6 months to a year. And so I really did. I sat with myself and I said, you've done all of these things for everyone else. You've done it well. You've met some amazing people. But the thing that I haven't done yet is to create my own business where I'm running the show. I'm helping the people that I want to help in the way that only I can do it.
Right.
That's what you haven't done yet. So let's do that. And let's do that no matter where you are in the world. So I'm telling you, everybody, I'm telling you, you were just like, you just said it so casually. And I said, wow, I never thought of that. I'm not even exaggerating, everyone. Even I went, after I sat with myself, I walked down the hall to, my husband's office. We work from home. And he was like, okay, yeah. And because I said, well, no, it's not okay. Yeah. Because I'm thinking that, now I'm back in the States, and, now you got to get a job and you got to retire at 65. I'm like, I don't have to do that.
No.
I don't have to do that. And neither do you, everyone listening.
Yes. No.
No, you don't.
No. The biggest thing is get rid of that credit card debt.
That's right.
Get rid of that credit card debt, and then it opens up a world. And if you've got private student loans, and then it opens up a world. Major differences between Porto and Lisbon. So someone else asked about the cost difference, and I didn't put that up, BP, because that's not what this show is about. But since we're now talking about Porto and Lisbon in general, they say Porto is less expensive. But looking at the real estate prices, is
Not now.
that much less expensive.
Look, I took a friend of mine, and we're gonna stay because either I might skip going to Porto in August and just head because I'm doing a house sit. We're doing a house sit thanks to the wonderfulness of Stephanie Perry
Oh
encouraging me to do a
yes.
house sit.
Oh
And now I'm
yes.
house sitting in London. Beautiful house,
All right.
beautiful
All
dog.
right.
Yeah. And after that, God willing, I will have 20 people who want to see Paris with me. And then I'm just going to hop on or go through the channel and do my thing. But Porto to me was exactly what I needed. And everyone, I first went to Porto last year. I spent 10 days there all by myself. My husband had to back out because something came up at his foundation. And I said, well, I'm going. I'm still going. I'm going. I know for some, right? Bye. I'll tell you all about it. I'll tell you all about it. And that's what I did. I was like, hey, here. But Porto to me, and I was in Lisbon. I was only in Lisbon for 48 hours. I only went to Lisbon to see a certain museum. I love design. And I wanted to see this incredibly, just exquisitely beautiful museum from the outside. I was happy with just the outside, and then I went in. But Lisbon reminded me of Paris, a certain neighborhood in Paris. And they even had I found a lot of French bakeries, and these were not French bakeries, by Portuguese people. These were actual French people who also immigrated to Portugal, and they did what they did best, which was to create a business, pastry, but bakery. And I said, oh my God, this is like Paris. I love it. I love it. But after that, the end of that second day, I said, no, get me out of here. It's too many people for me. It was too busy in Lisbon for me. I didn't notice a difference financially, but I couldn't wait to get back up to Porto. Porto is quieter. It's smaller. I talked to all the merchants, all the shop owners. I took my time with them. And I even got invited. There's this couple who owned this really beautiful shop. And they said, hey, we're having drinks. We're going to close up the shop, but they had this beautiful garden. A lot of places, and I don't know if this is the thing in Lisbon, but a lot of shops might have a back garden.
Yeah.
And they had that in Porto. So they said, hey, if you want to come back, we're going to have some drinks with some friends. You want to come? And I was like, oh my God, these people don't even know me. And I said, oh my God, this is what I said. I'm back in Europe. And this is what happens when you're in Europe. People, you get invited.
Yeah.
They don't have to know you. You just have to have a good vibe. They're very welcoming to foreigners. As long as you have a good vibe, you will be invited to parties and weddings. And they're just nice. Here, no, people don't do that.
No.
Because you also have to be very, cautious of people here in the States.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because there's so many people. Well, okay. There is mental illness everywhere.
That's right.
And a lot of these people are not crazy. They're just hateful. I keep repeating the study that I saw by one of our big think tanks in the United States that said if you cured everyone who had a mental illness, gun violence would only go down by 4%. So we got to stop saying it's about mental illness and just say it's hateful people with guns. There's hateful people everywhere. There's people with mental illnesses everywhere. The difference is the gun. The gun. So Porto, Urban Love, and BP Porto's cooler. It's a smaller city. The airport, they may consider it international, but it's a very second, third tier international airport if it is an international airport. There's less people. Once you get out of the city center in Lisbon, it's not that crowded. Like when I decide, do I walk near the water where everybody and their mama is at? Or do I walk away from the water to the pretty parks and all of that where, There's just a
Yeah.
normal amount of people.
Neighborhoods and
Yeah.
parks are beautiful.
They are beautiful. So those are the differences. And there was something else. Oh, Ange says in Italy we worked from 9 to 12, took a break from 12 to 3, right? That then worked from 3 to 6 or 7
That's
p.m.
what you
Yeah.
do. That's what you
I
do.
think that's what a lot of people do here because they are chilling in these parks and
Mhm.
restaurants.
Yeah.
They are not like shoveling it down so that
Oh,
they
no,
can
no,
get
no, no.
back.
No. Like for the Paris trip, they're gonna find it. People who go, and I see somebody said, "When is the Paris trip? I want to go." Yes, come go with me. I will be in the house sit in London is in August, so I can be there the second week of August and do Paris before the house sit, or I can go. We're also looking at dates from maybe like the first week of September, the first or second week of September. But if you stay tuned and everything, please, go to my website, ask the questions. I'm going to have it. I haven't, what I'm doing right now is calling around to hotels to find you the best price because I think it would be great if all of us were in the same hotel so that, we can build community there as well as we go about, going and doing these amazing excursions and things in Paris. But go to this website, ask your questions, go to contact us, and it says that when is the Paris trip? All right, Professor LCH.
Well, my friend is going to be in Paris the second week in August, and so
Yeah.
let us know, and we'll come visit and visit the crew, and then and visit with you guys. If you guys stop for lunch and stuff, we'll meet you over there,
Oh.
and then we'll go about our business. Because
we're gonna have
if we know enough in advance, we can get a ticket for 35-40 euro round trip.
I know that's another thing about living abroad. You can. Oh my God, I remember being in Paris, and I said, well, a professor from my university said, Felicia, we have 25 students with us. When you finish, come to Italy. And so I finished my my study abroad. I took my JanSport backpack with me, and I said, well, I'm going to explore the south of France, and that's what I did. And then I said, I'm going to take a train to Italy all by my lonesome. And I think that was maybe 30 euro or something. And in fact, it was still the franc or the lira
Back in
at
those
that
days.
time.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was super, super, dirt cheap. And just had the time of my life. And somebody was just like the lunch, a 3-hour lunch must be nice. Oh my God. Or having half a day on Wednesday, because as a teacher, right, I was teaching and they're so kind to children, especially in Europe, in France, because Wednesday, it's either like the children only, it wasn't even a half a day. They were just there in the morning, and then they would, they're back home. The parents are back home. Everybody gets a break. But no one came home. Not to say that, on the commuter trains in the morning, people are just like all grumpy, like, oh, I got to go to work. But let me tell you, French people know how to relax. French people know how to enjoy life.
Yeah.
They do.
Can you get by well in Sweden without being fluent?
I believe that now, this is what I've heard from different people, that you can, because when I was there, you couldn't.
Yeah.
You really couldn't. But now, due to the influx of so many different immigrants, I think, well, not even due to that, Swedes and I think the Scandinavians, they're excellent when it comes to English. Their English, they speak better than some people I know here in America. And you don't even hear an accent. When I was in Denmark, when I was in Copenhagen, I mistook this guy. I was fascinated by this art and something, and I was like, he was very, very nice to me. I was asking him questions, he was answering, and I said, so how long have you been here? He says, what do you mean? I said, where do you come from in the States? And he said, I'm Danish. I was born and raised here. And I said, what?
So no English accent, an American accent.
No American, no British.
Interesting.
And you know why? Is because their television, all the shows that they watch, they are not dubbed.
Dubbed.
They're in original voice or voice original. So they listen to us in English. They know all of our TV shows, black, white, and otherwise. They know all of our TV shows and everything.
Same here in Portugal. Except for the kids shows.
Kids shows, yes.
Yeah, and our television shows too. They're not dubbed, but the kids shows like Disney and Nickelodeon are dubbed.
Okay.
Is there a Black community in Porto? Now, Greta, we just said Black folks are everywhere.
Everywhere. I didn't walk up to them and ask them if they were. I did see, of course, I saw Black people in Porto when I was there, and plenty of Black people in Lisbon. I mean, I don't know if they were American, but my first meal in Lisbon was at a Black female-owned restaurant. And then as I sat down to order my food, there are Black Americans who live here and they're talking behind me. I followed them. I followed the gentleman. You might know him. I think he is high up in tech and stuff like that. And I follow him on Instagram and I follow her. She has a lot of Black community events in her beautiful restaurant. The food is amazing. So, yeah.
And I'm Sophia's. Was it Sophia's?
It's Sophia's.
Okay. Yeah. So if you haven't tried it, try Sophia's. The food is wonderful. Black in Portugal has now Black in Portugal Porto chapter. But as far as Black people, period, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig.
We're everywhere. Hey, Craig. Good to see you in the chat.
Hope to see you back in Lisbon soon.
Yes. The language barrier is what frightens me. Great advice. And also, y'all, what we didn't have and what she didn't have back in the 90s is Google Translate.
Sure.
Like when we came in June, before I knew, girl, obviously, I will take Spanish and pronounce it like Portuguese. Did it work? Sometimes it works because the vowel, I mean, not the vowels, but the verbs are so close. And I know the ones like to do, to make it are different, but a lot of them like to want, it's the same exact verb. And so I'll pronounce it in Portuguese and then sometimes I'll go.
Wait and see. They give that look like, huh?
But sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works.
And what we did when we were here in June is I will pull out, I come into the store pulling up Google Translate because I'm not going to expect them to speak English. It's not fair. It's not cool. And especially older Portuguese.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did meet a gentleman. He had a little mom and pop store, older gentleman, and he spoke no English whatsoever. So I needed a corkscrew because I had bought this really great bottle of wine. I was like, and this really cool Airbnb that I rented didn't have a corkscrew.
Yeah.
I was just like, what?
Yeah, it did happen to us.
And so I said, well, let me go downstairs, and I walked in, this great big store, and you use sign language, and he understood, but he didn't have it either. So he says, but he kept pointing, go. And so I was just like, okay, I'll go back. Oh, I said, oh, you want me to go back and get the bottle and bring it to you? I said, but you just said that you didn't. By the time I went back to the apartment and got it, he had gone across the way, just tiny little street in Porto, got a corkscrew and opened my bottle of wine right then and there. And of course, I went ahead and bought all my cheese from him because he was so nice. That man didn't have to do that.
And that's what I'm talking about. Rick, you said when we first came here, how come these people don't smile?
Yeah, I was wondering why the older people didn't smile. I was like, why don't they smile?
Yeah. They're sweethearts. They're sweethearts, though.
Well, yeah.
The guy down the street, right outside of our door around the corner, that has a little Mercado. When she goes to him and she's buying fruit and stuff like that, and she's attempting to speak Portuguese, and some of the things he understands. Now it's like he looks forward for her to come.
Boa tarde, boa tarde.
Yeah, he's like.
So the kindness.
Yeah.
There's not the polite, nice, nasty, right? Where they're not going to hello. That's not a thing here. And I didn't realize it until Adelia pointed it out, actually, from Piggy Girl Travels the World. But the kindness, no, he did not have to go, get his friends or get a corkscrew so that at least you could have that bottle opened right there and you didn't have to go looking around for it. And those small acts of kindness I see regularly here. And it warms my heart that humanity is still alive and pumping. And it is in the States too. It's just too far and few between. And then we're all in our cars, so we don't get to interact with each other.
Yeah.
Can she tell us about the tours of Denmark and Sweden she arranges?
Well,
is that on the list?
That is on the list. That's what I'm working on as well. I already know Paris like the back of my head. Okay, it's done.
Right.
For Denmark, for me, it's Copenhagen, because everybody knows Copenhagen, and Copenhagen is such a beautiful place. Go to the contact us, ask me your questions, because it's either going to be 7 to 10 days. There could be, you start with 7, and if you wanted to add additional days onto Copenhagen or, Stockholm or Gothenburg. I used to live in Gothenburg or Göteborg on the West Coast in Sweden, but Stockholm has my heart to this very day. I love Stockholm, but those are tours we can do. We can customize what you want to see, but we can also do a general, this is Copenhagen, this is Stockholm, or this is Gothenburg. So just go to lookseetravels.com, leave me your email, answer, ask me those questions, because we're in the process of doing that right now. I can't leave Scandinavia out, because Scandinavia, Sweden was so good to me. That was where everything started, because I started university late in life. I didn't do the, high school, and I'm like 18 years old, and I'm going off to college. That did not happen. I started university at 25. But before then, from 20 to 25 or 20 to 24, I was learning how to be an adult American on my own in another country. And I did the language thing because I said, well, everybody's going to college back home. And the government said, well, you can't come to our college until you get your language together. So that was another reason why I had to do the 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, learning with other immigrants. We had Russians. I had a woman, I will never get, this one was so beautiful. Her name was Nuha, and she was from Iran. She sat next to me. Drop dead gorgeous. And we were all 20 immigrants from all over the world learning. And we said, well, we're going to live in this country. We have our stamp. And this is one of the things that we have to do every single day to be in this country. So once I got that stamp, that certificate, and then I could move to go to Göteborg or Gothenburg University. That's when we were just like, well, you know what? My office is moving to New Jersey. You want to go back to the States? And I said, you know what? Yeah, because it's too cold for me. I'm tired of the cold. So that's how I ended up back in the States, and then to France, and then to Seoul, and all these other places.
And New Jersey's cold. What companies have you worked for as an English teacher?
Okay, so for the first job out of college, that was for the French government, because like I said, they have these things called assistantships. And little homework for everybody, go to the consulate, the website, and look for English assistantships. I know Spain has them, Definitely France has them. And that's another way that you could check out a country a little bit longer than a month or two. You can sign a contract. For France, I think now they've increased the hours to 12 hours a week. Oh my God, so much. So
Clutch
many
my
hours a week.
pearls.
Yeah. But the thing they don't do, they don't provide housing. So I had to find my own housing and things like that. But so for the first one was the French government via the French consulate here in Washington, D.C. For South Korea, it was, Pagoda is a company called Pagoda, and they owned a smaller. I think all of these companies, they say they're this, but they all are in cahoots together. And that company was called Direct English, and I think they still exist. They're still going strong in Seoul. I based myself in Seoul, and Seoul. When I went from teaching college kids or college students English to business English, increase in salary. I still worked. I worked a lot of hours. So I don't ask me if I know how to speak, Korean, because I don't, because I was busy making that money, that money. But I wanted to make all that money because, like you said, I had credit card debt. And that's what people go to certain Asian countries to do. Yes, they want to experience the culture, but they're like, hey, I have a natural skill that people will pay for.
Mhm.
And that's what really brought me to China. China was giving me more money than South Korea and a bigger apartment that I didn't have to pay for. So Direct English for South Korea, Pagoda for South Korea. For China, this was a government, everything is government, is a communist country, was a really, really great school that was sort of like a, what do you call it, a feeder school to a bigger university. This university
Okay.
is amazing. And so I work for them. So you can work privately sometimes, and I will be honest with you, sometimes if you go to Korea and if it's not international school, they have these things called hagwons, Hagwon. These are private companies. Like Rick and Halisi can say, you know what, we're going to open up a cute little store and we're going to call it, Rick and Halisi's School of English. And then you start getting all your, that's called a hagwon. You're not a university, you're not like an official school, so you're privately owned. Sometimes those schools take advantage of you, so you have to know how to negotiate your contract.
Mm.
And this is something, if I wanted to do it today, China was great because free apartment, didn't pay rent, So that's all the money that I made in China. I just sent home. Boom, paid this off. Bam, 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 done. So English is a great way. A lot of people, you will find people our age, you will find people fresh out of college because they have student loans. So they go to Korea, they go to Japan, they go to China because they're earning money. And
Yeah.
those countries like China and South Korea, they don't have, it's not a high cost of living. So if you're someone, I'm 54. And let's say you're like, okay, I'm fed up. Maybe you're a teacher here in the States. I've encouraged and helped people teach abroad for the summer because they have summer camps.
Right.
Like all these wonderful countries, they have summer camps. So if you can't commit to a whole year or 2-year contract, I was looking at Dubai. Not Dubai. Dubai is just too much. Abu Dhabi. Oh my God, the money. Well, I'm just going to be real with you. The money that if you have a degree in anything, like I told you, earlier, I don't have a degree in education. I have a degree in French. I minored in international relations. And they said, hey, come on over. We need you as an English, do it.
That leads us into this next
Mm.
question. Do all of these places require a bachelor's degree?
The countries I know, South Korea, China's not playing around. Because they're giving you an opportunity. And it is an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. I would say for countries, for Asian countries like China, South Korea, Japan, they're not looking for associate degrees. They want a bachelor's, at least that. However, there are, I believe, countries in Southeast Asia that as long as you have maybe an associate's degree, or you have, I've seen countries that just require that you are a citizen of the United States, or Great Britain, the big, they will take you, but you have to have a bachelor's. It'll just be easier for you
Yeah.
in terms, because if you have a bachelor's, this company or this school, they have to tell their government that, hey, we're their school and we want this, we want Rick and Halisi. And the first thing that government is just, okay, so what's their education? Because what we're not going to do is have people who don't have the criteria or the credentials to be in this country. Some countries are like that, but otherwise, because they're family members of mine, they're just like, I want to go abroad too, but I don't have a bachelor's. I'm like, well, look at Malaysia. I think Malaysia is gorgeous. Look at Malaysia. Look at, there are so many maybe Taiwan. I think Taiwan might be open, and Taiwan, plenty of Americans there. So.
Yep, definitely. Jocelyn, obviously you can teach.
Oh, yeah.
There's international schools here. There's universities here. So obviously you can teach.
Beautiful photo. Oh, I like her photograph.
Yeah, definitely.
Jello.
So that is the one thing. I mean, we have orchestras here, right? There, you saw we did a
the Opera House.
Yeah, a video on the Opera House. Doesn't look like Rui's watching today, but I don't know what the criteria is for those jobs, and they don't pay as well as we're used to. But then the cost of living is not as high as well. Now the international schools will pay more because they've got tuition and all of that.
International schools, because I saw that you had Carla, was it last week or the week
few
before
weeks
last?
ago? Yeah.
And international schools, like even with my degree and my experience, I could probably get into an international school without a master's, but most schools aren't checking for people without a master's for the international schools. So if I wanted to get into an international school, maybe I would have to apply for an admin position. And sometimes for those admin positions, you have to have a master's. So, do I want to do that? No, I don't. But what I want to do, I want to create my own business, which is what I'm doing to help people. That's what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
So go ahead.
Oh, wait a minute. I saw someone's comment. This is Isha on purpose. She says, my niece taught in South Korea, China, and the Middle East. She moved back to the States to teach and has quit 3 jobs. That's right. That's right. Who's not surprised?
Right.
Not me.
Yeah. Once you've tasted the good life, it's hard to go back. What were you going to ask, sweetheart?
No, I was going to ask you because you're a photographer too. So do you do anything with your photography to make money or, do business with? Teach?
I don't, I couldn't, I know I would never want to teach somebody photography. I can't teach somebody photography. I'm not that person. I'm the person who gets up super, super early in the morning with the camera and I just go out and I just find things. But how I did, so everyone, even if you're not interested in teaching English, I think it's still a great way to get into a country, because when you get into the country and you're that English teacher, when you're off, you can explore different things. And what I did was wake up in the morning with my camera and I would go out in the streets of Seoul. I did it for Paris, but I wasn't thinking about, maybe this magazine would like me to be, I wasn't thinking like that. When I got to Korea, I was like, oh my God, I work so much. I don't want to take a class, but I know how to get up early in the morning, get out there with my camera, and I take pictures. So that's what I started to do. And I started a blog. And this was when blogging was very new, very fresh. And I started a blog so that my family and friends could, keep track of me in Seoul. Because I wasn't going to be on the phone talking about, mommy, I did this. Like, here's the blog.
Right.
And this is what I'm doing. So that's what I did. I started a blog. And that blog led to me being published in Travel and Leisure magazine. It led me to license 28 of my photographs for a world-renowned British designer. And that was the biggest check. I said, and the check was in pounds, not US dollars.
Woo!
So when I got the check, I said, this is going to be in a book, and it is in a book. And I just licensed 28 of my photographs. The author, the designer, sent me chapters every 2 weeks. He says, Felicia, read this, understand it. Now go out into the streets and see, and I want to see your interpretation. So I was his eyes in Korea. So you can be an English teacher, or someone earlier said, I want to be a project manager in Italy or wherever. But when you're not working, you will have time to work on your interests, your hobbies, all these things, even being a full-time worker in another country. I don't go out with my camera here. Unfortunately, I don't. I just don't feel like doing it.
Right. But look at that. I mean, the opportunities that open themselves up to you when you are open to experience new things, when you don't live your life in fear, and you move boldly ahead with a plan, not just all hodgepodge, but make sure you've got a plan and that your money's straight so that you don't get stuck somewhere. Because we've heard about that, asking for food pantries and stuff like that.
We're going to talk about that later. But that's Don't come over here and just wing it. Don't go abroad and wing it. There's no wing it. Maybe back when I was 20 something, maybe you could wing it. Today you can't wing it.
No.
You can't wing it. Don't even do that to yourself.
Is there a place where where people are not going, or that is not as popular, that gets an awesome from you?
I don't hear people talking about, especially a lot of Americans, no one talks about going to Scandinavia. And I think the number one reason is it's too cold. It's too cold. But
go in August.
Yeah, let me tell you, I would move. I think I still have this in me. I have this adventure. I would love to move to Copenhagen. I love design. And to me, Copenhagen, like Scandinavian design, that is Mecca for Scandinavian design. And I love it. I think Scandinavia, Denmark, people still are flocking to Sweden. But I think it's the cold. But Scandinavia gets an awesome for me. Porto gets an awesome for me because it's spring-like weather. I love the spring. It's it's cool in the morning, then it warms up in the afternoon. You got that sun beaming on your face, and then it gets cool at night where you have to put on a jacket or a little light trench coat. I fell in love with Porto just for the weather alone. But I think right now no one's talking about Scandinavia. True. And that is an awesome for me.
True. Yeah, it's definitely on our list.
Yeah.
Can I work as an English assistant as a retiree, or are they generally looking for college students or recent college grads?
Oh no, you can work as an English assistant. I don't know the cutoff, because I know a lot of countries have cutoff ages. It could be 65, or some countries don't even have an age limit. As long as you are a native English speaker from the top countries, they're like, come and help our, businessmen and women, come and help our, children, etc. But I think, as a retiree, you can do that. As Felicia inspired me, you can create your own, get a YouTube channel, say, hey, I do consultations, set up that StreamYard, and get paid through, we get paid I don't know, whatever payment system or whatever. Yeah, you can be in that country and do that, but before you go to that country, try teaching English online. I
Yeah,
know you've talked about Cambly. Some people,
right.
Cambly. There's VIP Kid, and all these different companies. You can do
Yeah,
that now to get your
yep,
feet wet, and then you can go to that country.
right. And see if you even like it.
Yeah,
So we're gonna move through these quickly. I didn't realize we're already at 2 hours,
this is
and
crazy.
I'm back at
I love it.
I'm back at 10 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever time that is, your guys' time,
Yeah.
with these questions. So how can I bring my husband along with me to Spain when I come to be an English assistant? So the visas usually allow for reunification. So like we had Crystal on about 2 months ago who came here on a student visa. She could bring her whole family here with her. So if you get a work visa, most of these countries are not trying to split people up.
That's true. That's true. And I have someone in, and then another country that I've added is Spain, because I have a friend. We actually attended university here. I graduated from VCU. He's been living, Black man. He's been living in Madrid now for 20 something years, 23 years. He's never come. He's like, oh, I said, I'll joke and say, when you coming home? He said, I am home. I'm not coming back there. He comes back. He came back to visit his mom every summer, but he's like, no, this is home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like us. So Cece says, still not sure how to turn travel into a career. We've had, and if you're a part of Exodus Summit,
Yeah.
So one of the things that Felicia is doing is she is putting together tours based upon her expertise and what she brings to the table. So if, let's just say, art is your thing.
Okay.
And you want to visit the great museums around the world and with other art enthusiasts, if that is your thing, then you can offer tours, you can offer retreats and all of that in these different cities and bring your flavor to it. People are looking for very kind of bespoke or niche things. They don't want to just do the jump on, jump off thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with my tours. Is just like, we're going to go to these wonderful places, right? And this is how all of what I have, all the 20 something years of experience I've had of living abroad, just traveling, just in general, because I've had to come back and forth. I'm like, oh my God, this place is going, I'm going insane here. So then I would just travel for a certain period of time and then come back. So now I'm like, no, you're going to now make money traveling. And my thing is to help you look and see if this place speaks to you.
Right.
Now we're going to go to all the places that everybody's talking about, especially as a digital nomad. But initially, how I started making money abroad was using a skill and just something that came natural to me, and that's my language. You can do the same, but if you are not interested in becoming a teacher, you're just like, oh my God, because a lot of people kind of look down on being an English teacher. And I was like, I don't know what you're trying to do, because that's the easiest way to get that visa. And while you're on the ground, then you can go to different businesses in person and say, hey, well, I'm already here. I know that works for Japan, because their work permit, it's not to the school or wherever you are. It's a work permit in general. So let's say I say, well, I'm going to teach, and I'm still thinking about maybe teaching in Japan for a year, or maybe doing a summer camp. But if I do it for a year and I said, well, you know what? I don't like this school. I don't like the way they do things. I can go to another school, or I can go to a business.
Yeah.
And they can turn things around. So you can make money traveling. That's something, travel is just the air that I breathe. I love it. It's, if I couldn't travel anymore in this life, it would not be a good life. and I wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't be me. And I like who I am because of all of the traveling that I've done and all the, the languages and the community of people that I've met. But you can, Halisi, I'm telling you, because we had been talking about this, me and my, once we had that conversation, I said, oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. I know. Boom, Paris. Copenhagen. And then for him, Japan. I don't know Japan. He knows Japan. So he was just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. 7 days in Japan. And this is what the 10-day itinerary looks like. But we want to make sure that the interest is there for Japan, because people don't talk about Japan in terms of Black people. There are plenty of Black people and Black Americans who live and work in Japan,
yeah,
but no one's talking about like going there to live just as private citizens.
Yeah.
So our main thing is just to help you build that confidence to go abroad, whether that's going to be for vacation, or now we're talking about vacation because you're going to have a great time, but we're also going to talk about the cultural aspects. And then we're going to give you time to be on your own to see if you feel like, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this on my own. And then we regroup and we come back. So whatever you're doing here, whatever your occupation is here, you can do it in another country, because guess what? The thing that you do here, people do in other countries.
Yes. And so to go on to Marlene's question, opportunities for someone with a business or real estate background.
Oh,
everybody and their mama is a real estate agent here in Lisbon.
A real estate agent, Uber driver.
Yeah, our Uber driver last night was a cop.
He was a cop.
Another Uber driver was also a real estate agent. But the thing about it, Marlene, and you asked this a while ago, so you might have heard my story. Like our friend who used her English to help an immigration firm. So you can use your English for other businesses,
like a real estate business,
or, any kind of business that may need someone on staff who speaks English.
Yeah. And then because she's in real estate, like I'm in the process of getting my real estate license, because she's already in it. Try to get your whether, I don't know what brokerage she's in, but if your brokerage has ties to a country,
there's right.
Century 21's here,
and Remax
is here.
Remax is everywhere in the
world.
There you go.
See?
There you go.
So, girl, please. Let me see. I'm joining late, but love your channel, Halisi and Rick. Thank you. And I'm glad to catch a live. Yay. Hit that thumbs up if you are liking this content. I'm already feeling the guest and topic. Probably adding Sweden to my Copenhagen itinerary. So great timing. Yay.
Please do. Stockholm, do not sleep on Stockholm. Do not sleep. I love Gothenburg. Now, Gothenburg is not as, I think, I don't know, lively or whatever, but Gothenburg was where I lived, but I try my best to get to Stockholm at least once a month. But now when I was there was hardly any immigrants. When I was there it was a couple of years ago, I was on the subway, and the mix of brown, now you have a lot of black and white Swedes, and there all these brown children everywhere. And now when you get onto the subway, you hear Arabic, you hear Cantonese, you hear Mandarin. I mean, Stockholm is absolutely stunning, and it is very, very diverse. Go to Stockholm. That's all. Go to Sweden, go to Denmark. You will be amazed.
Yes. It's definitely on our list. So for all of you who asked about dates and all of that stuff, she's kind of answered some of that because she saw it in the chat before we did. And then we've got her website up. So Go to her website. If she's got a newsletter, go ahead and subscribe or go to contact us and ask your question.
Yeah.
Oops. Doggone it. There we go.
Ooh.
So what did I want to put up here? Oh, did you go to the Algarve while you were here?
No, maybe they
Okay.
mean Halisi, because I've only been to Porto and Lisbon.
So it's great later. Specifically, what do you want to know about the Algarve? It's warmer. It's beautiful. Beaches, because it's on the tip,
Yeah.
right? So beaches, but definitely warmer. The other thing that you need to know is that there are a
A
lot
lot of foreigners.
Yes, a lot of immigrants there from Britain and Canada, some Americans. So you if you want to get a more authentic Portuguese experience, it's probably not going to be in certain areas of the Algarve. Now, that's not to say that there are not traditional neighborhoods there, because there are, but there's going to be a lot more of North Americans and Brits and probably Australians. Felicia, do you think there's a need for children's books to learn language?
Most definitely, especially in this country. Oh my God. Because when you're in other countries, the little kids know how to speak English because they start very, very early in life. We don't start learning a new language in this country until maybe junior high. So if there were Americans, and that could be something like, if you already have a language, a second language, third language, maybe you can make children's books. You could, definitely.
Yeah,
When I moved to, another thing that helped me, with my 8 to 5, p.m. language classes in Sweden, when I came home, um, I read baby books. I started with baby books, and then I went to toddler, and then I went to, like elementary, and then I was like, young readers, and um, then I went to the big people's book, and I just spent time. But I started with children's books, and
yeah,
don't be ashamed of that. If you want to get on the good foot in terms of learning a language before you possibly go abroad with me, hopefully, or you're moving abroad, start with children's books in
yeah,
addition to your Duolingo. You can, oh my God, everything is an app now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Duolingo, there's levels to Duolingo. Children's books. Excuse me, I love children's books.
And if you have a VPN, then you can watch some Netflix and things like that in those other languages if it's a language that
Right.
they are dubbing in,
That's right.
or their local cinema. Do you need to be fluent in the language of the country where you hope to teach? I know we answered this, but I want you to repeat it because
No,
yeah,
I
you
don't
do.
speak a lick. Before I moved to China, I don't speak Mandarin, don't speak Cantonese. I don't speak Korean, and I lived there and thrived there for 4 years. Sweden, didn't speak a lick of Swedish, but I lived there and worked there and studied there and then came back here. So you do not. You already are equipped. You just got to get that confidence, put some more confidence in that backbone, and
Mm-hmm.
go forth. Have a plan. Don't go over there willy nilly. But you can. This is the thing. If my niece came in here today and said, all right, I want to go abroad. I'm like, okay, well, we can go for a summer. You don't have a degree yet, but there are ways that you can go abroad. I know I've heard of this thing called woofing. It's like a way for you to. It's a website, and it it's a way to work and get free room and board. So you might be picking rose petals in the south of France for the perfume, or you might be picking grapes or whatever. But I know people who do that.
Yeah, yeah,
And let's go back to Stephanie with house sitting. I have house sat in so many beautiful places here in this area, but now I'm going to do a house sit in London.
yeah,
So That's how she makes money because, she's created her own business. So you can say, let's say you become a house sitter. If you're already a real estate agent and maybe you can show people houses or something, have a portable business. Like you guys are business owners. I'm talking to business owners
Yeah.
right now. You have a business that you can take wherever you are through the help of YouTube.
Yeah.
All of these digital products, this phone right here, this is a business. So many people are making money
Yeah.
on this handheld computer, and all I want to do is make money doing something that I would do anyway.
Yeah. Marlene, if you're on the ground
Yeah.
and you're living in, let's just say Lyon, France, and you know that people want to come there, once you learn the lay of the land, maybe you're not a licensed real estate agent, but that doesn't mean that you can't help immigrants find housing because you know the lay of the land. You know how much they're supposed to be charging. While people are in America or Canada, you can do walkthroughs with your phone, FaceTime them, WhatsApp call them, video on your phone, and show houses and get paid for that.
That's right. Even because I went to the brokerage and he's like, yeah, people sleep on referral fees. He's like, Felicia, if you know someone and if
Mhm.
you're part of that sale and you refer them to the house that they're about to purchase, that's called a referral fee.
Yep.
Like I'm referring this agent. I don't have my license now, but that's a fee,
Yeah.
and you can get paid for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know plenty of people who are just like, Felicia, I'm selling this house and I'm moving abroad, but I don't. I would say, don't sign a lease yet. Don't buy a house yet. Don't commit yourself to a year's lease before you actually have spent some time in Portugal, etc. But you can do it. You can do it. And that was an enlightening conversation. I was like, what? I said, I didn't know. He says, yeah, now you know. He says, what I need you to do is get that license so you can come here and you can sell for me here, but you can also sell in Italy and France and Portugal and all these other places.
Right.
Mind blown. So that could be another way for, people who are listening to make money while traveling.
Yeah. So when you taught English, were you teaching conversational English?
Yes, I taught conversational English for the second part. This is when I taught businessmen and women. I helped them also with their presentations because they wanted to make sure that their English, the tone was right for the type of presentation that they were giving. I taught English, conversational English, business English to the head of. He was a neurologist at this top hospital in Seoul, and he was my student. This man was, I'll never forget him. His name was Dr. Na, N-A. And he's like, Felicia, we didn't have shoes when I was a little kid. We were so poor. Because he's from that generation where Korea is extremely poor.
Right.
And he's now the head of neurology at this top hospital. And I taught conversation. So he would come in, and you know what he did? He says his English was great. He says we would look at he booked me for 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about for 4 hours I have my own office. He had videos of ER, and we would watch. He already said at this time, why did she say this instead of that? Why did she use this adjective to describe how angry she was instead of that? And what it does is when you're teaching people English in whatever capacity, it makes you stop and think about how you use the language.
Yes.
It makes you stop and think about grammar, because we stopped learning grammar when I was in the 6th or 7th grade. Right. And then after that, it was just like, you just better learn how to write correctly. And I'm a great writer because of it. But that's what I did. Conversation, and I don't know, should I even tell you this? Okay. People who have, I was legally there as I had, legal visa to be a teacher, etc. There are people who supplement their income. I think it's kind of being greedy, but that's what you do. If you get caught, you get thrown out of the country. That's on you. I didn't, but you can say, in exchange for Korean lessons or Spanish lessons, I'll spend an hour with you teaching you English if you teach me Spanish for an hour.
That can't be against the law. That's just bartering.
Yeah, that's just bartering. But then there are those people who say,
want to charge.
I want to charge.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning this.
Don't get caught out there, y'all.
Yeah,
Don't get caught out there.
don't
Like
get
if like I said, if you come to Portugal on a D7, you can work once you get residency, but you don't want to get caught out there. So I'm sorry. So Marlene asked again about NAFSA. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
NAFSA was not helpful for me. I used to also work and study abroad, and NAFSA was not helpful for me.
What is it? For those who don't know.
I even forget the acronym. Oh my God, it's Study Abroad National something.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't helpful for me. I don't know if they have. Has Felicia been to Georgia? I have not. I have not been to Georgia. And it wasn't helpful for me whatsoever. I worked for a study abroad company, so-called nonprofit, a while ago. I no longer work for them because I can do it better.
There you go. It's Greater Later has fallen in love with expensive Switzerland. Have you been to Switzerland?
Yes, I have.
What are your thoughts on blacks?
And only for the weekend.
Okay.
After that, I said, "Oh, this is."
They want rich people there.
They want rich people. No one's talking about being a digital nomad in Switzerland for a reason. Yeah.
The only digital nomads that I know who have gone to Switzerland had house sits.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a way to. Yeah, I mean, for their visa, that Greater Later, you need to be bringing in $100,000 a year.
At least.
And that's for a retirement visa.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Yes,
they don't want me. They don't want me.
Yeah, they don't want poor folk.
Are you in RVA? I don't know what RVA is.
RVA stands for Richmond, Virginia. So she figured out, I'm in Richmond, Virginia. So you know what? We can meet up and I know exactly where to meet. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to meet up.
See, there you go. Hi comment. I don't know whose comment this is. Thank you, Luxury Bucket List. I tried to do it the teacher way. I tried to do it for decades, but it would never work out. Once I changed careers, I got offered a great tech leadership role, but couldn't afford the pay cut. Oh, I guess it depends on what your obligations are in the States and then how much you're living on here. So if you want to meet up, go to her website and go to contact us.
Yes.
When teaching English in these countries, do you have to create your own lesson plans? Oh, that's good. Or does it depend on the company?
Yeah, I hate lesson plans with a passion, but it depends. Sometimes you do with certain companies or schools. I mean, if you're in an international school, yes, because it is a school. This is a regular school. The kids and staff are international, and you will be expected to create your own lesson plans. Sometimes for these private English academies, sometimes they're just like, no, here's what we want you to teach. Here's the plan. Here's the lesson plan. They just, some places, sorry to say, some people just want a fresh body there. And if you speak well and you are good with children and you're kind to children, because, of course, background check, of course, that's anywhere in the world.
Right.
They'll say, hey, no, we just want you. Here's the book. This is the way we want you to do it. And that's the way you do it. But if you're going to do a regular school or university, I want a university position. Those are the best contracts. So there's that. But sometimes you will be required if it's a regular school. And if not, sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So BP says they're giving young people houses to move there.
That's
Japan
right.
is.
That's right. Yeah.
Y'all.
This is great. She said her granddaughter is studying Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a second cousin. He's been in Japan now for 6 or 7 years. He's with the Army. And I'm so glad I was just like, yes, go. And he says, well, sometimes I get homesick. There's nothing in these United States for you, young man. Stay in Japan. He's great. I think he's really great with the language. Stay in Japan, stay abroad. A young Black man on top of that, absolutely. Don't come back here.
Right. Exactly.
There's nothing to do.
Exactly. Well, we are going to wrap this up at 2.5 hours. Y'all.
I cannot believe.
That was a quick 2.5 hours. And so hopefully, what's our new person who has asked a lot of questions, Marlene. Hopefully you got your questions answered, because what I saw were some duplicates there. And then also, Marlene, also watch the episode that we did with Carla about expat careers. You will find that very, very interesting as well. Thank you, Professor. Standing ovation. She's giving you a standing ovation.
Wow.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here's the deal, and this is what we hope that we left you with. Because of the internet, there are so many opportunities to make money. And, we started YouTube because our dream was to do documentaries in the United States.
Yeah.
But then I was like, but YouTube's easier. And we're a bit of hams. And
you can do it from anywhere in the world.
You can do it from anywhere in the world. You don't need a lot of equipment. And I think once we crack the code to financial independence, it's like, okay, especially as older people, like Rashida did it at 39.
I know.
39 had come and gone for us, right?
Yeah,
and yet, right? And so we started this YouTube channel mostly because we wanted to help people who look like us figure this thing out and know that, you don't have to wait until you're 62 or 65 or 67 years old to start having fun in life. And you just have to reprioritize your life, right? And so YouTube pays us money, not a lot, but if you already have it's all about, you guys, is figuring out how much money you need to spend to live how you want to live, and then figuring out where that income is going to come from. So if you know that after a while, YouTube's going to pay you $300 a month, let's just say, for ad revenue, but you can live off of $1,200. Okay, so then where is that other $900 going to come from? That's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like you could probably do call center for 15 hours a week in the, from here, but in the States, right? And get paid $20 an hour, $18 an hour, and make that money up. But you got to have your debt paid off in order to do that.
Have that paid off.
Yeah.
Right?
Have that paid off, and also, just know you have options. You have options, because I'm in the chat group. When you go live, like you, Rashida, Stephanie, Picky Girl Travels the World, etc. And I'm like, you can do this. You can do this. And and if you need someone to hold your hand a bit, then I'm like, well, maybe that's me. Maybe I'm the person to hold your hand, because I'm going to be there with you. I know the language. I know the culture. We know the language. And I don't speak Japanese, so it's going to be Marquitas that takes the lead on that. And then I'm going to say, well, is Japan somewhere that we want to live? But like you said, before we do that, I say, gather your skills. What what is it that you like to do? Can you make money from that? Some kind of way.
Yes.
You
Yes.
and Rick have been a huge inspiration for me. And I told you, I'm still reeling from that. Just a couple of sentences you said. And I'm like, no, we're going to do this. This is easy. This is something that I would do for anybody and have done. Right. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
well, now I'm going to make this a business.
Right.
Instead of trying to, oh, please hire me. Oh, please. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And looking at you, like you said, you've done the hard work. You've paid off your debt. Now you're living. You're not waiting until you're 65, 75, talking about, okay, now it's time for me to live. Absolutely not.
No.
Now
Life
you
is
know
too
too
short.
much. Yeah, you know too
Definitely.
much. You know
So
too much.
We do side hustle coaching. I used to do this for a living. I used to help small businesses grow and thrive back in my other life, way back when I had to work for anyone. Thank you, Ange. Gave us a super sticker. Y'all
Oh,
know.
wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, Ange.
Yes,
That's
the money
wonderful.
goes to our scholarship fund, and we help
Right.
people who cannot afford to take Beyond the Bling to get their money straight. We give scholarships.
That's great.
And so, yeah. Thank you. Next week, we have Laura Lares. She has her own YouTube channel, ENG Spanish. Yeah, that's that's understand or AEP. Yes. Aprende. So learn, understand, practice Spanish. That's what it stands for in Spanish. And she has been my Spanish tutor for 3 years now. And she only teaches adults. So I know that we got a lot of things about the fear of having to learn a language. So she's going to talk about some tips and tricks for adults to learn another language. And why you might, we always say it's easier as a kid. She's going to tell us why it may be easier as an adult to learn another language. So that's next week. You guys have to tune in. We're at 3:30 Eastern time, 1:30 Mountain time. Beyond the Bling. If you want to book a call with us, all of that information is down below. And of course, our meetup. June 19th and 20th. I was about to say July again. June 19th and 20th. And you guys know, if you come early, Black in Portugal has their Juneteenth picnic on that Saturday before. We were playing spades. It was on and popping. So I lost in spades, but that's okay. A fun time was had by all. So with that, we will say,
see ya.
Adios.
We love you.
See you. Love you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.